at showstoppers at CES, and we've run into, I think it's has the world's oldest podcast. Is that right, Phil?
Yeah, longest continuously produced podcast in the world.
That's incredible, and what makes it really incredible is you've had a day job in these last 20 years or whatever. Phil, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get your thoughts on what we've seen here.
Yeah, so when the podcast started, I was already at Hewlett-Packard. So I was the CTO for HP, retired out of HP in 2011. Thought I was going to retire, but my first book came out, and I ended up being convinced to unretire, and I became the CEO at CableLabs, and now I've been there for 11 years, coming up on 12 years.
And that's amazing. You've done some amazing work at CableLabs, continued to progress that organization, and part of it, I have to think, is what you do with the podcast.
Well, part of the podcast is all around innovation and creativity. So it gives me the exposure to see and work with small companies and even large companies to help encourage really what's the next thing coming. We talk in the terms of what we call near future. So what's kind of that 3 to 8 year time frame, and that's where we operate at CableLabs. That's my area of focus, and that's what makes shows like CES and Showstoppers great venues to be able to come see maybe not what's shipping today, but what's shipping next.
Well, it gives you a chance to experiment. I just keep thinking of the Ollie vehicle that you guys put into a video a couple of years ago, right?
That was the Ollie vehicle was in the Near Future 2 film. It was the Rance Howard film. Yeah. So Rance Howard was Ron Howard's dad. And we used him as a 80-year-old man talking about living at home, living independently. In the near future films that we've developed at CableLabs really is about trying to project out what that 3 to 8 year horizon looks like. And it's really meant to inspire innovators to think about what could they do and what could they create to be transformative that could change the world.
And now you've been here for a couple days, CES. What are your thoughts? Anything that kind of strikes you as innovative and could change the world?
Well, I think the big topic at this year's show is AI everything, right? It's we have an AI toothbrush here, and, all over the place. But I think it's also more about the excitement in the industry. I think this year we really feels back to being pre-COVID, about the energy, the economy, the new technologies that are coming out. The pace of innovation, though, is operating at such a speed, and it's just continuing to accelerate. We're seeing silicon now, which used to be updated every 2 to 3 years, is now on an annual cycle, driven by the work at Apple and Intel and others, AMD and NVIDIA, where the refresh cycles are happening at such a fast pace. It's harder and harder for the innovators to keep up.
Well, and it's harder and harder for the OEMs, and I keep thinking of the car companies, right? In terms of a big part of it now is software-defined cars, as an example.
Well, it is, and in a car platform, it's 5 to 15 years, right? And like at HP, a laptop, it's once a year. You had to refresh that puppy every year. And people now buy cars, maybe they don't need the car platform changed, but they want the new software updates. They want to think of it as basically a phone on wheels, and how do I get my apps, and how do I get those updates? And the biggest challenge I think right now is resources, people, expertise. If you look at what engineers are getting today or what AI experts are getting today, it's a challenge to recruit. Find people with the right expertise given the pace of change.
Yes, I understand that. I think my microphone might be dying, speaking of pace of change, so we probably should cut this interview off. But Phil, I so appreciate all your time you spent with me, and I look forward to listening to your podcast.
Great. Thank you all. Thanks a lot. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.